Hey everyone, and welcome. My name is Coach Rob DeBoer, and I want to be the first to welcome you to a very open Facebook group called The Truth About Fat Loss. And our goal here is really quite simple. It's to help you crack your metabolic code. You know, there's so much noise out in the marketplace as to what diet to follow or what supplement to take. And our goal is to simply set the record straight, to simplify all of the nonsense out in the marketplace and help you finally crack your metabolic code. Find a way that helps you lose fat loss, but not just find fat loss success, but sustain it long term. The first thing I want to do is address two questions, and they're two common questions, but I want, by the end of this very short introduction video, you to be able to answer why it is you gain weight, and number two, why it is you lose weight. So oftentimes people are so confused. Well, we're going to end this video with you knowing exactly how to answer when someone says, well, why haven't you lost weight? Or how come you're gaining weight? You'll know exactly why that is, scientifically, why that happens, and then as we move forward, what you can do about it. So there's a document. I want you to stop this video now, and I want you to go to the Files tab. It's called The Truth About Fat Loss Part 1, Understanding Energy. Very fundamental, oversimplified if you will, but it's very important that everybody grasps this as we move forward in this group. And there's actually two versions. One, I've printed the answers in. So one's just the questions, and then the other one is kind of like the key with the answers. And I'm just going to read this through to you. Human survival depends on one single word. It's called energy. Human energy is measured in calories. Calories come from food nutrients, and more specifically, macronutrients, because macro stands for large amounts. We consume things in large amounts. That's why when you look at a food label, you'll notice protein, carbohydrates, and fats. The three macronutrients you know well are measured in grams. So let's look at what those three nutrients and then two others that maybe you aren't as familiar with. These are all energy sources, and energy determines everything. It can't be destroyed, it can't be created, it can only be transferred. Remember, these are laws of thermodynamics. They're not good ideas. They're not Rob DeBoer's opinions. There is some debate, believe it or not, but you can take this to the bank. So, proteins. 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates has 4 calories. 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. So if you've ever heard someone say, well, fat has 2.5 times the energy, true statement. 9 is 2.5 times 4. Then you've got alcohol, probably the worst nutrient that you could consume at 7 calories a gram. And then ketones, perhaps the most efficient and effective nutrient you could consume at roughly 5 calories per gram. And this is a silly illustration, and I call it the apple eater example. And the reason this is important is it's going to demonstrate what happens to caloric energy that you consume. In other words, you're the apple eater, the apple represents food. So the apple is energy, food is energy. The apple energy is transferred to the apple eater. So when you consume food, that energy is transferred to you. The apple eater can use the apple energy to perform work, walk, talk, think, blink. You'll hear me speak all the time. Your body, your brain, your heart, your lungs all require energy continuously every second of every minute of every hour of every day that you're alive. If the apple eater doesn't perform enough work to use all of the apple energy, in other words, if you don't use all of the food that you consume, the apple eater stores the excess apple energy. If the apple eater has future work to do, the apple eater can eat another apple, so you can eat more food, or if another apple or food isn't available, the apple eater can use the stored apple energy that was left over and stored from the original apple. Now, here's why this matters. That is representation of what fat is. Fat is stored energy, okay? It's the unused apple energy that the apple eater consumed but didn't use. And then oftentimes, even though we have stored energy, even though we have body fat, we continue to add more. The apple eater eats more apples without using first that stored energy. That's our goal as we look at fat loss. Real quick side note, micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, are food nutrients that do not contain calories. So if you ever see a sugar-free, calorie-free energy drink, they might as well call it a stimulant drink. The only way a human, the only way our superhuman computer functions is with caloric nutritive energy called macronutrients. We named all 5: protein, carb, fat, alcohol, and now ketones. Now, here are the 2 questions. The only way to lose weight is by creating and sustaining an energy deficit. I have this silly little poem that goes like this: if you want to lose fat, you need to use fat, and you want to make sure it's your fat, not the grocery store fat. In other words, when you consume bacon, your body needs to burn through that bacon before it uses your love handle. When you consume that apple, your body needs to burn through that apple energy before it's going to use the stored energy. So the only way to lose weight is by creating and sustaining an energy deficit. This means you had a regular deficit of energy on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and your body had to make up the difference by using stored energy in the form of fat and or muscle. Our goal is to keep muscle and use fat to make up for the ongoing energy deficit. That is how fat loss works. That is the only way fat loss works. The only way you can lose fat is to use fat. And we want to make sure it's your fat, not consumed grocery store fat. Now, the only way to gain weight is by creating and sustaining an energy surplus. So if someone says, gosh, I don't know what happened, now you do. If it wasn't water weight, which is a whole nother conversation, but nobody cares about water weight. Water weight's not the problem. That's not why you're unhealthy. We're unhealthy, out of shape, and overweight from stored energy. Water, as important of a nutrient as that is, it's non-caloric. It's not an energy source. So this means when you create an energy surplus on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, your body decided to save and store that surplus as fat and or muscle. So when we add muscle, there needs to be a surplus. When we add fat, there needs to be a surplus. In other words, you can't create something out of nothing. If there's one thing you take away, understand, you just answered perhaps the most common question, most misunderstood question, and the most concerning question when it comes to fat loss, more specifically weight loss, because everyone says weight. Understanding weight is water, waste, muscle, and fat. Our focus, especially in this group, the truth about fat loss is how to keep muscle and lose body fat. So if you haven't been able to lose weight, and we're talking real weight, not water weight, fat loss, it is because you have not created and sustained an energy deficit. Period. End of story. Now, through the course of this Facebook group, we're going to help you identify why maybe you feel you should have created an energy deficit, or I shouldn't have gained weight. We're going to show you all of the errors that people make in maybe tracking the energy coming in, maybe misunderstanding the energy going out. Because at the end of the day, you are left in one of 3 situations: a energy surplus, where you store energy; an energy maintenance, where it's kind of that plateau or set point, you don't really gain weight or lose weight; or an energy deficit, where you're deleting from that stored energy. That's what we want to do. And as we delete over the course of time, we want it to be fat as we protect and preserve muscle. So that is, I guess, foundational lesson 1. We want to welcome you to this group. This is where we will be communicating exclusively I know I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups, but this will be specific. Basic ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of fat loss. What you need to know, how it works, why you get fat, how to lose fat, but most importantly, how to sustain that fat loss success. Thanks again. Welcome to the group. Please share, invite anyone. We'll approve everyone. This won't be a secret group. Everyone is invited. Thanks so much, y'all. Take care.